Mr. Cormac, what are we going to do in this episode?
My name is Ross. Cormac Ross.
Ah yes, the Times funny world of literal translations. It makes perfect sense in my language, so why shouldn't it work in the language I'm translating it to? Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out that way, does it, Cormac?
No, certainly not, and it's a source of great fun in English class, to be honest. Over the years, we have lots and lots of examples, but let me first go back to your introduction, Brendan. Mr. Cormac. Why not? Because in Spanish, it's common to say Senor Cormac. In English, simply, you don't. Mr. is with the full name, Mr. Cormac Ross, or with the surname, the family name, Mr. Ross. Indeed, some people tell me in Spanish that Senor Juan is maybe not the best Spanish, and indeed some of my students have said, no, you sound like a maid talking to her boss. So I'm not sure if it's a class thing or on a strict sense if it's good Spanish or not, but let's leave that for our listeners to write in and tell us what you think, because obviously you are the experts.
Of course, and when it comes to Spanish, indeed, let us know. We like to hear from you guys, so do get in touch with us. And we'll have all the details on where the podcast is uploaded.
But just to finish that point, Brendan, Mr., Mrs. and Miss, the three really traditional honorifics or titles that you use for people. If I say Mr. John Smith and you don't know who John Smith is, what can you tell me about Mr. John Smith?
Well, the only thing I can tell you is his gender, that it's male.
A male, exactly. Okay, so you don't know if he's old, young, married, single, divorced. You know nothing except his gender. Mrs. Joan Smith, what can you tell me about her?
Mrs. Well, I would take it that she's married, or at least had been married. Yeah. And that we're talking about a woman, as in somebody older than 18, because she was married.
So you're saying married, divorced, or at least once was married, female and adult. Okay, and what about Miss Joan Smith?
Miss, well, I would, again, gender, it's female. But, well, I couldn't tell her age. I wouldn't be sure.
No, but you know she's single.
Oh, single, of course, yeah.
Okay, so again, you have Miss tells you two things about that person, Mrs. tells you three things about that person, and Mr. only tells you one thing. And of course, the women's rights or the equality movement said correctly that this was very sexist. And I'm not sure how long ago, but relatively recently, they introduced MS as the equivalent of Mr. It's pronounced Ms. And pretty much every modern woman will choose this title. Ms. Joan Smith, what do you know about this person?
Well, I just know the gender. And that's
female. Mm-hmm. You have no idea of the age, the marital status, nothing. I think, in fact, the same thing happened in French, maybe 15 years ago, where the French Academy of Language or whatever decided to very good accent, Brendan. But they decided they had the same thing as Senorita, Senora. They had Mademoiselle and Madame, and for the same reasons, sexism, equality, etc. They now refer to every female as Madame.
Nothing more. Okay, well, that brings me on to Senorita and Senora, because I've given classes to women around 40 years of age, and I'm unsure, do you say Senorita or do you say Senora?
Well, I think in general, especially here in the Colombian culture, no woman will ever complain about being addressed as Senorita. Oh, okay. That's guaranteed. So don't worry about that. In fact, I remember years ago, maybe my second year in Colombia, in a class, I referred to a woman in her mid to late 30s as Senorita. And she said, ay, profe, gracias por el remiendo. It's like saying, thanks for restoring my virginity.
Or youthfulness, perhaps.
Her youthfulness, but yeah.
Okay.
It's funny.
But have the Spanish language masters then, or the Academy they haven't gone as far as the French and saying you can only use...
No. I think the cause of women's equality, etc., is not as advanced in Latin countries as it might be in European countries or even North America. Not for the moment.
The wokeness wave, though, is on its way, perhaps.
It's practically inevitable, I'm sure.
But this is like a minefield. There's a lot of areas here, and as we mentioned, it's funny, it's humorous. So as a teacher teaching here 30 years, you've encountered many funny translations.
Endless examples. Like maybe a couple of years ago in Villa de Leyva, we were in a bar. And in Colombia, they have in pubs, in bars, they serve beer in very tall, like tubes, plastic tubes of beer.
I've seen them. Of course, I don't drink beer.
You're not into that scene, Brendan, obviously.
Of course not.
But they for whatever reason, I suppose simply the long tube, they compare it to the neck of a giraffe, and they call it una jirafa de cerveza. And in this particular bar, it was literally translated as a giraffe of beer. So it would be like, I don't know, ordering a hippopotamus of lemonade or a rhinoceros of vodka. But that was good.
One of the ones that sticks out for me in this is on a lot of public transport vehicles here, you'll have the sign "Como conduzco," which they translate into English as "How do I drive?" In other words, for us that sounds like I have no idea how you manage to operate.
Asking for instructions.
Exactly. I've never taken lessons. How indeed do I drive this? Because the translation in English would be, Cormac,
more like, how am I driving?
Yeah, or how is my driving?
How is my driving? Yeah. Talking about the quality of it.
Exactly.
Another one I love, because of course we know as Irishmen we're not romantic at all, but our Colombian partners are.
Speak for yourself there, Cormac, Mr. Cupid over here.
But the typical Colombian man will exaggerate in their shows of affection for their girlfriends, for their wives, and typically say, "Mi amor, te amo demasiado," which literally is, "Baby, I love you too much." So, of course, in English, too much is excessively is bad.
Of course.
Yeah, it's damaging, it's sick. And basically, that's the idea. You would say in English, "I love you very much, I love you so much," but too much would suggest that you were addicted, you were somehow sick or obsessed.
Yeah, that's actually probably one of the most common ones for Spanish speakers here. They say that too much for everything.
It's super, really, really common. But another one is, you easily say to somebody, "Where are you going?" And you say, "Well, I'm going to buy some drugs." And when I've heard that first, I thought, Jesus, they're very open about their addictions. They're very open about their habits. But obviously, drugs, they mean medicine. Even though in American English, drugstore is good, drugs company. In British English, we would say pharmaceutical company and pharmacy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just think medicine. Another one, black eyes. Many men describe their girlfriends as having black eyes. And
now be careful, Cormac. Remember the contract we signed here with Caracol.
We cannot incite violence as part of our contract. But black eye, obviously, in English would be after a fight. You would have black eyes, ojos morados. But hopefully the boy is not hitting his girlfriend.
So what do they mean though when they say black
eyes? Dark eyes, dark brown eyes.
Okay.
Another one I like is life is cheap. One of my students said, "Life is cheap in Ibagué." And I thought, well, Ibagué is a perfectly tranquil, safe, wonderful town. Yeah. And it sounded like life is cheap in Ibagué. Sounds like life has no value. You can be killed for anything in Ibagué. But it simply means the cost of living. He wanted to say the cost of living is low in Ibagué.
As we said, there are so many of these. Have you got another?
The list, like, I know we don't have all day. Very quickly, people very often say, "I like to eat outside." Now, maybe they mean in their garden, or maybe they mean a picnic, but really what they want to say is they like to eat out, meaning in a restaurant.
Okay.
And I'm talking about restaurants. Very often they say, "I was in a restaurant yesterday and I asked for food." Now, asking for food and ordering food are two distinct things. The beggar, el mendigo, at the door is asking for food. Hopefully you intend to pay, so you order food.
Mentioning the beggar there, Cormac, the beggar may be living, and I might be living, over the Septima if this podcast isn't a monetary success.
Very good. Yeah. Over the Septima. Sobre la Septima. You should say, obviously, I live on the Septima. If you live over the Septima, possibly you're in a tree house and literally you're above, living in the sky.
There's another area to this, Cormac, but I think it's probably for another episode. But it's things that aren't translated, and they work in all languages. The one here, and people would think we have an addiction to beer, but people say six-pack. They say six-pack.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't translate it.
And for no particular reason, maybe simply because these are loan words, obviously, palabras prestadas, and we have them in English, the same thing. I say for simplicity, for ease of use, because six-pack is 2 syllables, and maybe to translate it would be a little bit more kind of laborious and not sound so efficient. So but it's funny the ones they choose, like full. They very often hear they say estamos full, or ese man. Even the word man.
Man, exactly.
So that's an interesting.
And of course,
topic
full
as well.
For as in a place is crowded. There's no
absolutely.
space
When the capacity is satisfied.
But as I said, that is for another episode. And guys,
loan words.
Do write into us with other ones that you can think of, because we do love to hear them, and we'll deal with that in the future. But as ever, we need your top tip, Cormac. So with literal translations.
First of all, take classes with Study Agency, which is always the free top tip. But it reminds
Are you saying you're giving free classes now?
No. But there is the basic tip about literal translation reminds me of an old joke, which is a person goes to the doctor and says, "Look, doctor, when I put my hand in the air, it really hurts a lot." And the doctor says, "Well, don't do it." And that's the basic tip for this habit. Just don't do it.
And you do need an expert, I guess, at times to help you.
An expert makes life easier.
Excellent. Well, Cormac, that is it. What are we going to do, though? I have to stick in the last one. What are we going to do? Hoy en ocho, which they use here in Colombia.
Hoy en ocho is un colombianismo, which I love, a very Colombian term, and literally means today in 8. Now, obviously, in English, that would be this day week or today week.
Yes, of course, because 8 days for us, that would be like, well, a week and a day. So whatever we're going to do in Hoy en Ocho or in a week and a day, tune in, guys. Remember, you can contact us by using the numeral or hashtag #GetInglés on Twitter. But until the next time.
Okay, well,
bye-bye.
Goodbye from me, and have a good week.